Hi, my name is Jarryd and welcome to the Data Stands Body YouTube channel. Today, we are going to walk through the 13th maintenance iteration candidates. These candidates are the change requests nominated and voted for by the community members as part of the maintenance iteration working group. We've grouped these into common categories, which are information security, energy, banking, register, and general. So, first up, let's explore information security. Our first candidate for the 13th maintenance iteration is issue 479. This starts us off with a clarification on the minimum algorithm required for JARM. Now, JARM is an active transport layer security server fingerprinting tool. This item is proposed to specify the minimum algorithms for JARM signing, key encryption, and payload encryption. This is all found in issue 479, and always we invite everyone to jump in and contribute. The next issue for information security is issue 522, which looks at the OpenID provider configuration endpoint parameter requirements. There are two options proposed in this particular issue. Option 1 looks at expanding the list of required parameters, while option 2 looks at removing the required parameters defined within the upstream specifications. Again, we invite everyone to contribute to issue 522. Up next is issue 547. This concentrates on updating the SSA and client registration standards for JARM and authorization code flow. To support Phase 3 FAPI 1.0 migration, this is proposed to update the DCR APIs to specify JARM and authorization code flow support for the following changes. These are: add code to the valid response types and enumeration values in the registration request using JWT, and update the DCR registration request JWT to support JARM, and a number of algorithms listed there. You can find more details and the conversation on issue 547. Up next, and as our final for information security, is issue 535. For issue 535, the standards seem to be restating the client authentication, and in doing so seem to be also redefining it. There are a number of changes proposed here. They are: remove references to assertions and parameters for private key JWT and simply defer to the upstream standard. Also, to remove references to the OIDC section 9 and therefore prescribe a modified client credentials authentication mechanism. That's issue 535. And with that wraps up our 4 candidates for information security profile. So let's move on to the next category, and that's energy. Our first issue for the energy sector is issue 475. This is the representation of spot price contracts for C&I customers. In this instance, the DSP is unclear on how best to represent such contracts and is raising this change request for input and feedback. So, for all those listening to this, please reach out to the issue 475 and add your feedback there. Up next for the energy is issue 520, which outlines a stepped solar price feed in tariffs in energy. There are 2 options outlined as part of this change request, and currently we're exploring on what the best recommendation is to do here. So if you've got insights or like to contribute, please jump into issue 520 to assist with the energy sector. Now, with those 2 issues covered, we have wrapped up the energy sector. We can now move on to the banking. Banking has a sole issue here, and that's focusing on specifying if an account is a joint account in the account and account details API response. If you'd like to find out more, contribute, or have opinions about this particular area on the API response, please jump into issue 513. And that wraps up banking, so we can move on to the next category, which is the register. The register has 2 issues that we're focusing on for the 13th maintenance iteration. Issue 546 proposes to update the register and DCR Swagger specs to use common field types, as the change implies it affects all common field types. And that is all covered in issue 546. The next issue for register is 544 and proposes to update the X-V header to be mandatory for a number of register APIs. These would impact the register APIs for an optional X-V header, namely get data holder brands, get software statement assertion, get data holder statuses, get software product statuses, get data recipient statuses, and get data recipients. Here, there are a number of changes here, so please explore issue 544 and add your contributions and inputs as you see fit. And for our final category, we have the general section. The general section we use is for holistic feedback. We always welcome feedback across any and all components of the consumer data standards. Even if the changes are trivial, we ask that they added to this holistic review. This can include errata, clarifications, or corrections that are required for the consumer data standards. This helps in terms of management of issues and focusing on the right areas, rather than having to raise a change request or an individual issue every single time. The key thing is that these changes are not material to the consumer data standards, so each of our community members needs to judge that as they raise them in this issue. The issue we're using for the 13th maintenance iteration is issue 551, and these are captured for the working group. So if you have any changes, very minor changes that need to be captured, please go and explore and add to the conversation in issue 551. Alrighty, and that wraps up the review of the candidates for the 13th maintenance iteration. Thanks for being a part of this video. Thanks for your contribution so far to the 13th maintenance iteration. We're looking forward to seeing this iteration come to a great and awesome conclusion. As always, we'll see you next time on the Data Standards Body YouTube channel.